Smart Chiropractor Show. It is time for our featured guest segment. And if you are somebody that's on Instagram, you might recognize our featured guest today. Title of this one is Exploding in Instagram Following as a Student with Brooks Hill. Brooks is a student at Parker University. She goes by Destination DC on Instagram. And as we talk about teach and invite, and certainly when we use the word consistency, Brooks embodies that. So you are invited to sit in on a great conversation that Jason and myself had with Brooks just a short time ago. So without further ado, here's a conversation with Destination DC and Parker University student Brooks Hill. Hey docs, I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host Dr. Jason Deitch, and this is our featured guest segment on the Smart Chiropractor Show. And today we have a special guest that we introed, a student, Brooks Hill at Parker University. I know Jason and I came upon what you've done, Brooks, online, and it's been awesome. We've been following along, and we wanted to have you on today, chat, ask some questions about what you're up to, how you got started, and have some fun together. So how are you?
I'm doing great today. I've had all of my caffeine for the day, so we're ready. We're ready to go.
I love it. So I want to kickstart. I've followed what you've been doing on Instagram, I want to say as like a primary platform, and we'll get into our thoughts on some of that. But I just would love to ask you, like, when you made that first post in earnest, so to speak, how did you think of the idea to track and follow and document your journey as a student? Because I've always thought about it and I've seen you put it into action. I think it's awesome. How do you think of it and how did you get started?
Oh man, what a good question. So when I was introduced to chiropractic, I did what anybody would do nowadays, and I got on Instagram and I was looking for resources of, okay, what is chiropractic school like from a student's perspective? What is the process to apply? And I did find someone who was documenting their journey while they were in school, but I was in my undergrad at the time. And so I was most concerned about what it looked like to get to where he was. And I couldn't really find it. Not to say that it wasn't out there. It may have been. Maybe I wasn't doing my, best at searching it, but I couldn't really find anything. And personally, I just felt like that was the Lord's way of saying, you're up, your turn. And so I consulted with those closest with me who knew me best. And they were all super supportive of this idea of me starting an Instagram, starting a platform to share this journey and this process, even before it kind of started. And so my mom actually came up with the name destination.dc, which stands for Destination Doctor of Chiropractic. And my sister had a fashion blog at the time, and she shared some really incredible tips and tricks as far as strategy goes with me. So I was super blessed to have her sharing that insight before I actually got started. And then my brother-in-law, they don't know that they're getting all these shout outs, but they are because they deserve it. My brother-in-law has a really nice camera. He's kind of dabbled with photography here and there. He would shoot my sister's blog photos. And so he, shot my kind of first shoot for my Instagram. So, it was like kind of a family affair, and we made it work. And the vision at the very beginning was to, one, educate the public on what chiropractic is as a profession. Because as I started working in a chiropractic office and really myself got involved in chiropractic and started seeing a chiropractor, I started to realize that when I talked to other people, they had no idea what I was talking about. So I knew that there was a gap there to be filled education-wise. And then two, like we talked about a second ago, my goal was to encourage and show students that chiropractic is an option as a profession. Because at the time I was in my undergrad still at Texas A&M, and at least at A&M, if you're in a kinesiology major, you're going pre-PT. Like that is your goal. There are so many resources on campus to get you there, but nothing for chiropractic. And so, one of the things I did along with the Instagram was refounded the Chiropractic Society at Texas A&M, which that's a whole other story that we can get into at another time. But that's where Destination DC was rooted. It was to educate the public on what chiropractic is, and then also to show students that, it is an option as a career if you're interested in healthcare and what it looks like to get there.
That's a great, inspiring, motivating, way of being. And I honor it and appreciate it. I'd love for you to dig a little bit deeper and share with docs who are in practice, oftentimes wondering, how do I get more new patients? Help them understand your perspective of, I just want to help people understand this better, versus docs who typically go, yeah, I'm doing this to get something. Help people understand your perspective of kind of how it works. You're sharing on a regular basis. Obviously, you've got some tips from those non-chiropractors who can sort of help you understand it. But, get into, if you would, do you enjoy doing it? What kind of feedback do you get? Do you think people are listening?
Sure.
What do you think is happening as a result of your efforts?
Sure. No. So, it's funny. One of my tips that I'm just going to throw in a little tip here because it ties into this answer is, once you get a few years into social media in general, but specifically on Instagram is where I've found the most benefit from this, is look at your archived posts, because one, they re-inspire you. They show you, okay, kind of where you started out. And two, they're an opportunity to actually reshare and push out content for the day, because you can reshare something you've already posted. But the way that this ties in is, lately I've been doing that. I've been looking at my archived posts, and initially I noticed that I was posting a lot about chiropractic in general, what chiropractors do, what they treat, what they can treat, what it's like to go into a chiropractor's office. It was very, very educational content. And I found that, my friends, family, and then as it grew into just the general public, if you will, the non-chiropractors or non-chiropractic students out there, that they were very, very receptive and open to hearing about this form of healthcare that they didn't even realize could help them. So, educationally, there is such an opportunity for chiropractors to get on Instagram and just share what they're experiencing in their office. Obviously, I am not a chiropractor yet, so I can't necessarily speak to the getting new patients, but coming from a place, and this is just a value that I think I hold in life that I have found, and I'm sure y'all can attest to as well, that has been very helpful. But coming from a place of just service and sharing with those that follow you on Destination DC, we call it our chiropractic community. And my goal and vision with that is for it not to just be people who are literally chiropractors, but for it to be people who maybe start seeing a chiropractor because of an educational post that I've shown. They're included in the chiropractic community when I reference that. So educational posts, I think, are huge, and they help people see, and it makes it personal for them. Oh, I have shoulder pain. Oh, I didn't realize that chiropractors even did that. Oh, it looks like that. It's not scary. It's just kind of opening that door for them. And then student-wise, so initially, like I said, my content kind of started out very educational. Then I started to actually go through the application process myself of chiropractic schools. So my content shifted into more of that application process realm. And I got so much great feedback from students who were so thankful to know, oh, that's what it looks like. Oh, that's what I need to do. Oh, just the basics of the application process. And then as I got into school, it turned into a lot of tips and tricks as a student, as a chiropractic school student, not only in the classroom, but even, I think, more importantly, outside of the classroom. And now I'm less than a year away from entering clinic, and I really want to start shifting almost back into that educational realm, because I really want to exercise the muscle of communicating chiropractic. And so to tie all of that together, to answer your question, Jason, I think as chiropractors, a few specific things that you can do to help get engaged with your audience and possibly bring in new patients, get clear on what your goal is. If that's your goal, great, own it, and then get consistent. So get clear and get consistent on your posting. And you don't have to really be a social media guru to know that. You can Google, what do I do on Instagram to grow? And that's going to be probably number one, is consistently posting. But number two, I would say stay on the path. And another a cliche way of saying that is just staying true to yourself. That comes across very much so, especially if you're on stories or, doing any type of video. But if you can hit home the getting clear on your goal, then the staying on the path will come naturally, right? And then the third thing, and I really want to stress this to chiropractors because I think that your audience will relate to this, is adaptation. You are literally masters of adaptation as a chiropractor. You're adapting to patients walking into your office every day. You're adapting treatment to their specific needs. Not only that, but you're helping them adapt to thoughts, traumas, toxins, the stresses in their life through chiropractic adjustments, through chiropractic care. So why not apply that to your social media? Adapt with the platform. As it changes, you also have to change as a creator. And it may be a little uncomfortable at first, but if you can really work that and work that angle, exercise that muscle of just applying adaptation to social media, that will help tremendously when it comes to growth and when it comes to connecting with whoever your community or audience is.
Those are incredibly powerful tips. And I want everybody to know we didn't feed you notes. We always talk about consistency as the number one predictor of success. And you're right there with us. And we always talk about teach and invite consistently, lead with education, inspiration, education, engagement, a little bit of entertainment at times. So I think that's so awesome. With that posting, this is the question that I get, there's many, maybe most, chiropractors that are, fearful of getting in front of the camera, quite frankly, fearful of getting out there. And on the flip side, I have a lot of students that if I go to speak somewhere, I'm always asked, they're not sure, should I, shouldn't I? There's nerves around, what do I do? What don't I do? I don't want to do something too early. I don't want to get in trouble. All of these things combined, in one. How have you navigated that? I mean, was this a natural thing for you? Did you have a little fear that you had to get over? And how have you sort of navigated ensuring that, what you're posting is true to yourself, as you said, while also, doing what's right externally, so to speak? Obviously, being within a school, et cetera, you have to be cognizant of that. How have you navigated those waters? I'd love to know, because I think a lot of other students would love to get started, but just are fearful in a variety of ways to get started.
Oh, I love that question because I have found that as well. Friends and students who reach out through Instagram, they're just like, I don't even know where to start, and it is hard. I was actually just talking to a student just before this earlier today who was asking that exact question. And my biggest tip with him or to him was the getting clear on the goals, but even more so, where is the gap and how can you provide value to that gap? And it doesn't have to look like what somebody else is doing, what you're doing, what I'm doing. We each have our own strengths, and finding how we can apply directly the value that we already know we have, our strengths to that need, I think is the way to go. So, finding the gap, finding how you can provide value is what I would focus on and what I would tell, somebody else. And to go along with that, I'm a huge believer in, and I've already said it a million times, but strengths, just really honing in on your strengths. So, maybe the first step for somebody is to really get real with themselves on what are my strengths. So that way they can, learn, okay, oh, I see now how I can kind of make it me, make that content, subject, whatever it is, me, a little bit more personable. And to answer your second question, I think that as students, especially, my biggest recommendation to them is exercise communication. Just start talking to people, even if it's, and this can go to chiropractors too. It doesn't just have to go to students, but even if it's just setting up a phone, or a video camera and just talking and starting to practice that. But especially when you're at events, introduce yourself, just start. And I know I've said it a million times, but I think it's so important. Just exercise that muscle. I think as chiropractors, they will get this, exercise that muscle of communication because it pays off in so many ways, and especially in content creation. I'm sorry, that was the answer to your first question. Now to answer your second question. So this is something that the fear around creating an account has been coming up more and more recently, at least to me and probably to you guys as well, as students, to stay in the safe zone. Obviously we're not allowed to recommend treatment or care or anything like that. With all of my educational type posts, I always have multiple docs read it over. That's an assurance just for me mentally, to make sure that, okay, this is what I'm learning and this is what I think I know, but I would also like to hear multiple perspectives. So I have doctors in my phone who are probably annoyed with me by how much I ask them to read over posts, but I'm very thankful for their time. And then at the end of the post, I'll always add, I am not a licensed chiropractor. I'm a student, something to the effect of, I am not a doctor yet. And that's just kind of a safety precaution. Obviously, this is actually a really big one. I'm so glad you brought this up. The name. So the @name, I think a lot of students can get very excited about creating a chiropractic focused Instagram account, and they will put Chiro their name or their name DC, insinuating that they are already graduated and licensed. And my biggest tip is just don't do that. Plain and simple. Just don't do that, because that's where, I just get nervous for them. I haven't personally experienced getting in trouble for anything, so I can't give like a real life, this is what will happen if, they come for you. But, that would be my statement, is just be very weary of how you word things in your educational content, your @name, and then always putting a little disclaimer at the bottom if you're unsure on how something will come across.
Those are great tips. Brooks, what I'd love for you to you mentioned something earlier, I'd love for you to dig a little bit deeper on, and that was the word document your experience. I know a lot of chiropractors are trying to figure out, what do I say? Our philosophy at the Smart Chiropractor is we have different monthly campaigns with different weekly topics and different suggestions for daily posts. So there's a structure to it. A lot of chiropractors just think of, Facebook and Instagram and immediately just go to, well, that's advertising, right? Can't I hire somebody to do ads on those platforms for me? Would you dig a little bit deeper into the concept of, documenting your experience and maybe even forecast? I know you're a student now, but for a lot of listeners who are practicing chiropractors, you were a practicing chiropractor right now, knowing what you know. What does that documenting your experience sort of mean, and how would you apply that in practice if you were in practice today?
Sure. Well, one of my favorite things to see other chiropractors post is, after a long day in practice or a long week, and by long, I mean great and good and positive, just highlighting a highlight of the week from a patient experience, a patient interaction, a win of the week, whatever you want to call it. There's so many, play on words that you could use there, but that's my favorite thing to consume when it comes to chiropractors posting. I love seeing what is in their office, and chiropractors, students. I mean, I'm speaking from a student perspective here. It is so inspiring for us students to hear what is going on in the real world, because y'all know how it is in school. You are just in the books, you are in the trenches, you are in the nitty gritty details. You are in the don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And it is so nice to hear some wins and some positive patient experiences. So that would definitely be a huge one, whether that is once a day, once a week, once a month even. I would be just sitting down. It can be very relaxed and just talking to the camera. It doesn't have to be live. It can be recorded. So if you mess up, you can redo it, and just sharing what literally happened. I think that brings a lot of personality. You're able to truly speak from experience, and that comes across on camera for sure. So that would be my biggest recommendation, is just literally set up a camera after hours, spend 2 to 5 minutes just sharing a win. And I think that will attract so much positivity to your practice.
Got to get in those reps. You got to get that repetition. It's a skill, just like an adjustment. As I always say, the first time you have on video, is going to not probably be as good as the 10th time, and the 100th time is going to be better, and the same as delivering the care in your practice. I'm gonna change lanes a little bit. You're sitting in front of a Parker University sign on Parker University's campus. Parker Vegas is coming up. Jason and I are going to be out there. What will you be there? What are you looking forward to? And what's your involvement level?
Oh man, I am so excited for Parker Vegas. So it will be actually my first time to be at a Parker Seminars Las Vegas. So I've never been to a Parker Vegas, and I am just over the moon about it. My involvement, so I will be moderating the philosophy track or the chiropractic principles track. So come see me over there. I'll be introducing the speakers and getting to know them, and, really just getting to know everybody who comes through that track in that room. And then also myself and another doc and our production team are going to be interviewing attendees during the breaks. So make sure to find us at the Parker University booth, because we want to hear, attendees and docs, your office staff. We want to hear y'all's experience at Parker Seminars. So that will be my involvement this year. And I'm just very, very ecstatic about it, because all I keep hearing at every Parker Seminars that I've been to, which have been either in Dallas or Orlando, has been, oh, just wait till Vegas. So I am very, very excited about it.
That is fantastic. Brooks, it's obviously that you are enthusiastic, excited. You love doing what you do. It's obvious. Help those that may not quite be as enthusiastic as you are understand, how much time does it really take? I mean, if you love something, you could wake up in the morning and film your entire day, and some people do. But, a lot of chiropractors are, not looking to be the next internet influencer and so on. They're looking to maybe make a difference in their community, or maybe just looking to sort of get a few more patients sticking around. How much time do you think it really has to take? Is it a chore, or are you able to fit it in a sort of routine that almost makes it, second nature and really easy to make part of your life? Knowing consistency is the name of the game. What do you recommend for people to stay consistent, and how do you do that as efficiently as possible?
I love this question, Jason, because I really had to recently get real with myself on my strengths and my weaknesses, kind of like we talked about earlier, and how that was affecting my time management surrounding my social media and balancing everything else, because we all have all the things going on all the time. So how do we fit social media into that, as you said, as efficiently as possible, while still being passionate about it? So for me, I'll give a real life example, and hopefully this will translate to your audience. I am not very skilled when it comes to editing. So while I have the goal of eventually being very consistent on my YouTube channel, I recognize right now my time and my skills are most valuable on other platforms. So I devote lots of energy towards Instagram, as Dr. Layman, you said earlier, is kind of my main platform. So I devote a lot of time to Instagram, and I devote a lot of time to TikTok, because I know I can produce content quickly and efficiently, and I can produce, more importantly, quality content quickly and efficiently. And I think, it doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but if you're listening right now and you're thinking, oh, so I don't have to do all of them. No, you don't have to do all of them. That would be, one of my pieces of advice to you is figure out where you can bring your skills, and you reap the most benefit from it in the most efficient way possible. So I think it's really about getting real with yourself on how you can do that.
Brooks, you have been absolutely fantastic taking the time today. I think I'm going to encourage, if you are a student listening and watching this, or you're an experienced doc, you're probably going to want to rewind this, get some of those gold nuggets that were dropped throughout the episode. You've just been, again, fantastic. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I'm going to continue to follow along. I know Jason and our entire team will as well. So thank you for the work you do, and we'll look forward to seeing you in Vegas.
Oh, thank y'all so much. It has been an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Lots of great takeaways from that interview with Brooks Hill. She is one of those students that is getting out there, teaching and inviting consistently, building a fantastic audience of followers in the process. Jason, what was perhaps one of your key takeaways?
We say that it's teach and invite consistently. And if there's one thing Brooks got's right, it's the consistency part. And it's just something for us to model after. You'll find as you follow people that there are certain people that do things that you resonate with and others that do things that you don't resonate with. And that's called learning. And so the whole key here is to see what other people are doing. She's doing an amazing job. This is the perfect thing for a student, her generation, years, peer group, and so on. That's how they communicate during this time. I'm not sure my generation does it exactly the same way. That's okay. The point is for you to find your voice. She did an amazing job, and it's something we all can learn from. Consistency is the key. So whatever way you do it, make sure you stay consistent.
Big takeaway right there, Jason. I'm personally offended you did not say your generation, but I'll let that one ride. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com.